into it. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is David Tushin. Part of what we did with putting together this program is it's really kind of geared towards the youth, and we're really looking forward to teaching basically middle school and high school students up to the age of 21. And I am fortunate enough to be the instructor for this entire duration of the course. For those of you that don't know me from any of the private ground schools or any of the other ground schools that we've taught in the past, I'll kind of go through a brief history of myself. I actually started flying, I want to say it was mid-90s. I had some family friends that had an aircraft here, and we used to kind of fly out of the Fullerton area. And then I actually started doing my flight training in 2001, which obviously was not the best year to start, as we all know. So I did a little bit of flight training in the Seattle area, did some in Kentucky, and then kind of put it on the back burner for a number of years until the industry kind of came back to life in the mid-2000s, and around 2016, 2017. Finished my flight training in about 6-month period of time at a local Part 61 school. And currently we are based out of Camarillo, California, which is just about an hour north of the LA area. Once I did that, I basically instructed for about 8 months to go from about 260 hours to the 1,500 hour minimum, and ended up at a great company here in Los Angeles. It's called Compass Airlines. We flew the Embraer 175 for both American and Delta on the regional side. So enjoyed that for a number of years. And then, of course, you know, we had the COVID situation. A lot of people got furloughed. So throughout that entire period of time, I've always basically been teaching and doing ground schools and doing one-on-one instruction, and really have come to love kind of working with students and getting those aha moments. And, you know, if anybody's ever done that, it's just very, very satisfying when, you know, the student is really learning and adapting and is really successful at the end of the day. With that, I am an FAA Gold Seal instructor, so I have a high pass rate, and I've basically worked with about 100 students one-on-one over the last couple of years. I got them through their check rides, everything from private all the way through CFII. I've got a 95% pass rate with my CFI and CFII candidates, and I've got about 18 through in the last 2 years alone. Also a ground instructor, so just kind of throwing that into the mix, but that's a little bit about myself. And of course, I'm surrounded by a wonderful team. Hopefully you guys have probably reached out to them or talked with them at some point. You have Rebecca, which handles all of the admin and all the other stuff going on, and has a million little pizza pies up in the air at any given time. So thank you to her. We have Crystal as well on, so any of these gals can answer questions. Crystal is our marketing director. She handles all of our advertising and outreach and those types of things as well. And we've got Travis, who does all of our IT work, and we'll go through at the very, very end of this class. We'll talk a little bit about what does it look like on the group leader side / adult side in terms of managing your teams and so forth. And Travis is here to ask or answer any questions you may or may not have in regards to that. Okay. As we kind of continue along, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera just for a sec here, but tell you a little bit about us. Checkride Prep was actually initially born in 2017. It was officially turned into a company the following year in 2018 before I went to the airlines. And we ended up basically doing one-on-one, and we had a couple extra flight instructors as well that we worked with. But we really worked with private pilot, instrument, commercial pilot. And then we also focus in on the CFIs and CFIIs and some advanced training as well. So everything we do is single engine based upon our location, and we are a Part 61 flight school here. And in the kind of the COVID situation and everything that the industry has kind of turned on its head recently, what ended up happening was we kind of did an online type of ground school, which is a little bit different from us, a little bit unusual. And we ended up involving with everybody else that's been going through this situation. So this year alone, to date, I just put the current numbers on the screen there at the bottom left. We've currently served 14,138 students that have basically taken our classes this year. And those students range from, we've got everybody from, I think, 11-year-olds, maybe even younger. I'd have to double check. But we have the 11-year-olds all the way up to the senior citizen category. Folks who are basically going through trying to become fresh and kind of get outside of that rusty pilot area. And it's been a real privilege working with everybody through all the private pilot ground schools and the instrument ground schools and the commercial ground schools that we've done online. The other thing is that I've had the pleasure personally of signing about 3,200 FAA test endorsements this year. So it has been a tremendous ride. It's been a lot of work, and overall it's incredibly gratifying to work with the diversity of people, like I said, with all different backgrounds and education levels and all ages. And that's really the goal at the end of the day, is getting as many people excited about aviation as we can. And here we have a picture. This is one of our smaller offices here that we actually broadcast out of. We actually have 2 broadcast studios here. I'm actually in the other one, so I'm on the other side of the building, but that's usually what it looks like behind the scenes. You guys see the pretty end of that, which is the nice, pretty picture. You don't get to see all the wires and the lights and everything else and the TV screens. So that's kind of a little bit about our area as well. In addition to that, we have another 5,000 feet of square footage here in our offices, so it is fairly large and comprehensive. Now, the reason why we put together this program, as I stated, is we are really just trying to inspire youth to take that next leap. There's plenty of people out there that are kind of in this mode or mindset where we're a little bit grounded. It's something that we've always wanted to do. It's something that we're interested in. And a lot of what we want to do is we really want to teach students about the potential of aviation. And within aviation, there's so many different career avenues besides just being a pilot, as we all know, right? We have mechanics, we have engineers, we have management, we have so many different facets as well. And what will end up happening is we're trying to create this foundational, this nice foundation that's really incorporating a lot of stuff that aviation lends itself to, which is basically physics, math, aerodynamics. We're talking about weather and meteorology. And it really complements, the younger generation as they're kind of progressing through school, because it has what we call that aero STEM emphasis, right? The science, technology, engineering, and math, that basically is incorporated into the class, right? So that's the reason why we put together this program. And we're here to initially talk a little bit about how this program is put together in terms of how it's designed. And then what we'll do is we'll go into the different benefits, and we'll wrap it up with basically the technology portion in terms of how do we actually design the course internally? What does that actually look like? How do we actually set up the group roles for our adult leaders and also for our parents individually? How do you kind of follow up with your kids or your team to make sure that your students are on track? You'll have all of that and more at your fingertips. So like I said, this is kind of the program that we've developed, and it's going to follow the academic school year. It's 33 live weekly classes, and each class is going to be about an hour of instruction, and we will obviously have about 30 minutes in excess of that for a Q&A in case they have any questions, aviation related, or anything else that they're potentially struggling with on the course. As stated at the beginning, it is designed for middle school and high school students up to 21 years of age, and there's absolutely no prerequisites for this class or course. And at the end of the day, besides also teaching them all about the fundamentals of everything from aerodynamics to physics and math and everything else that's really incorporated into aviation as a whole, it's going to help these students pass their FAA written exams. So on the back end of the course, we teach every single class live, just like what you're kind of seeing right now. And it is an interactive experience. So we go with the flow of the classes. If we start to see there's a lot of questions, then we pause and we basically answer those questions. We continue from that point forward. And in addition to that, we take all of the live classes and we actually will post those recordings. So that way, if a student potentially missed a lesson or anything like that, they can watch it, or they can actually watch it over again in the future. In addition to that, every single class is complemented with basically different types of reference material that basically correspond to the actual class itself. And after every single class, we basically have a mini quiz that quiz will actually correspond to the material that is taught. Once a month, we basically have a stage quiz, which is a larger quiz that will cover the preceding 4 classes to make sure everybody's on track. And the parents in the group and the group leaders will have the ability to basically monitor their own students and only their own students. And we'll show you that coming up here very shortly. Now, that's kind of the overall design. And the other things that we've also had a chance to incorporate in this class is the monthly career guidance. We'll talk about that. And what we've done is we've you know, over the last couple of years, we've met a lot of fantastic people in the aviation industry. And what we want to do is we want to bring them in as guest speakers every single month. And what will end up happening is they will provide their own experience and background and what got them into aviation and how did they go through, you know, studying for their career choice and their career set. And we'll look at that here in a second. We will have the Q&As at the very end with myself as a CFI, and I'm here to answer any questions, whether students get stuck on something or want to know what life is like in the airlines or anything else. And as I said before, this entire program is really designed for students and then also either the parents or the leaders that can kind of watch over the students as well. So there's a lot of social engagement. We do have private study groups on both Facebook and Discord only for those student groups and populations, which is separate than our public one, which is for all of our other classes. And so that's kind of what we're looking for. Now, with the student membership benefits, in addition to the 33 live classes for the purposes of this course, they will also get access to all of our other material until they turn 21 years of age, okay? So if you're, for example, I know Lori has a 10-year-old, she was saying, that's not too young. I've taught the 10 and 11-year-olds, and they've actually passed the courses, which is our much faster course. It was actually done over 4 weeks, and he nailed it. He got his certificate. You know, if they are on the younger side, that's perfectly fine as well. Now, the other thing too is I was kind of alluding to is that you will get access to all of our course materials. So that does include our private pilot class, our instrument, our commercial class, so they can basically grow with the program as well. That's all like recorded, pre-recorded and done in our studios, and then we basically offer that up. And those are full courses as well as we kind of progress. This is all going to lead to that private pilot written test endorsement. Now, you do have to be 16 in order to take the FAA written test, but our endorsement does not actually expire. I write it off of my ground instructor license, so that actually doesn't have an expiration date. And then once they're 17 years age, they can actually hop in, or not hop into the airplane. They can do that much sooner, but 17 is the minimum age you need to be in order to actually take the FAA practical exam or sit for what is known as the Checkride. Those special monthly guest speakers that we were alluding to originally, these are some of the folks that we'd like to bring in once a month. Once again, if your student is unable to make that class, we do record this information. We encourage them to ask questions. And what ends up happening is we're going to get all of these individuals and potentially more over the course of the academic year. So that includes astronauts and astronauts in training. We've met a wonderful gal who's actually an astronaut in training out here, and she has volunteered to speak with students. Military and civilian pilots, both aircraft and helicopter pilots, air traffic controllers, airfield operations specialists. We also have airport managers, aeronautical engineers, the A&Ps, which are aircraft and power plant mechanics and our avionic mechanics and more. So the whole goal of this is try to get students to kind of think about what potential careers would they be interested in. And at the end of the day, you know, not everybody's going to jump into aviation, but we will at least want to get them excited about it as they're kind of going through the paces and kind of learning about all of these different careers. Now, on the side for parents and for some of our squadron leaders, we do have a number of parents on this webinar right now that that homeschool their children. We also have a number of folks from the Civil Air Patrol and the EAA and a number of other groups on as well. So the way that we've set this up for you, and I'll show you a more detailed version of this here in the next couple slides, is that you will have the ability to manage the progress of all of your individual students. Nobody else's students, it's just going to be your group. And within that, you'll be able to see the test results. So here in the example on the right, we can see that Nelson took this free online private pilot ground school. We could actually follow up and see exactly what time he took the course, what was the results of it. We can also look at the test results for this individual, how they're actually progressing through the course as well. In addition to that, you'll have the ability to basically communicate with your students and also basically create these private groups or forums, if you will, where you can have your own discussions, and that's only available within a certain population set. So once again, it is a private forum or private group just for either the parent and their student or just the group or the leader of that group can kind of monitor them as well. Now, the way that we've designed this is we've tried to do this at cost and basically make it as affordable as possible. So the education pricing model that we've developed is basically $144 for the academic year. So that's $12 per month over 12 months or a single payment. And also keep in mind the students will have access to the program until they turn 21. So they'll have access to the remaining materials up until that date as well. For the adult leadership, as long as there is a student tied to the adult membership, that is, it's $15 a month for 12 months, and that's a total cost of $180 for the academic year. And as long as you have a student that's currently enrolled in the program, then that will basically carry you through. You don't need to pay every single year, but it does have to be tied to a student membership, okay? Now let's look at the technology and access. That's what most people are kind of curious about, and how do we enroll? In addition to that, you know, how is this actually set up for parents and leaders alike? So at the very end, you can go to our online store, and we'll send out a link at the very end of this. And what you'll see here is it'll look something like this. We'll have the Education Aviation program. You can do the easy pay, or you can pay the single time. The one thing that we do ask, though, is whatever name you use to enroll in the program, please make sure it's your legal name. The reason why we ask for that is the fact that when you do end up getting the FAA endorsement, we want to make sure that it is written out appropriately. So if your name is Bobby, but you're signing up as Bob, the endorsement will come to you as Bob instead of Bobby. So we just want to make sure it matches your whatever your government issued ID is, so that way we don't have to rewrite it a couple times. Underneath there, you'll notice that there is an affiliation button, so you can actually choose your affiliation. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So if you are associated with either a homeschool group or a Civil Air Patrol or another organization, this is where you can choose that. And then the second thing that I do want to point out is there is an additional form that we do ask you to sign up for. This basically allows us to put you inside of any specific group that you belong to. For example, if you have a specific squadron or a wing, or anything else along those lines, it will really kind of help us out in terms of making sure we're giving people the correct access as we move along. Now, the way that these group hierarchies work is everybody is basically placed. If you do not choose a specific selection, everybody is placed in this general youth education aviation program. So any homeschoolers or anybody else not kind of outside the purview of any of these other programs, what will end up happening is that you'll go into that general youth education bucket, if you will. In addition to that, we do have specific groups such as the Civil Air Patrol, our JROTC, our Young Explorers, which is the EAA, and then also out of the Boy Scouts group, the Aviation Explorer Scouts. Within each one of those, depending on the number of wings and squadrons we have set up, what we can do is we will then basically break those out a little bit further. And what will end up happening is that if you are a group leader for a squadron, you will only have the information for that specific squadron. You're not going to be able to access anybody else's information. We want to keep that secure for the privacy of our students and other parents out there. Now, if you are a group leader for a wing, you will actually have all of the information on the wing for that, and then any type of squadrons that are associated with that. So anybody that basically has the highest level, such as maybe national leadership in the Civil Air Patrol, they will actually have all of the downstream information on all of their students, all of their wings, and all of their squadrons, depending on how those organizations specifically want us to set that up for them. Now, the way that those group roles work is we are considered the admin or the organizer, so that is currently us. We will then basically give specific permissions for our group leaders. And then we will also give, the group leaders will then have the ability to set up their teams however they like. And we will basically have you work with our IT department. If you have any questions in regards to that, they're happy to answer that for you. And then the group leaders can assign students and also moderators that can basically moderate the group for any type of comments, or depending on if you want to have the forums turned on or off. So every single time we kind of go up, student is probably the most basic level, and then obviously the group leader, whoever that might be, there could be more than one for a specific group, however you want to design it. That is the highest permission set that we can give in terms of these roles. Now, when we create the groups or the subgroups, they're actually created by us, and that's the reason why we are asking you to fill out that form in addition. And if you forget to, we'll just send you a copy, or if you have any questions about that, feel free to message us. Now, the main education groups are always going to be hidden, and access is restricted to only those members in those groups. So all of those bigger or larger groups that we saw, such as the Civil Air Patrol, you're only going to be able to see your squadron or your wing, depending on how we set that up, depending on your permission level and so forth. And like I said, that's for the privacy of the students and also for the parents out there. We want to make this a secure environment for learning, and we don't want to really worry about these types of things. So all of our technology is basically built on 256-bit SSL technology. So it's going to be considered the standard in here. Now, anytime that we want to basically create multiple groups, and we can actually have parents in multiple of those groups, meaning it's not just one group leader per group, but we can actually have a few different parents or leaders basically managing a group if necessary. Okay. With the group membership, the way that this works is the individual accounts can be assigned to more than one group, so they may have different roles in each group. For example, if we have someone named John, John could be the leader of CAP Squadron 1 and also a student in Air Force JROTC. So if you end up having multiple memberships, we can absolutely accommodate that for you. Another example is we might have this individual, John, who might be the group leader in several CAP squadrons or Civil Air Patrol squadrons, but they only have a student in the main JROTC group, okay? The roles in the memberships can be custom appointed. So if there's something that you would like from us, for your squadron or your group, however that's designed, let us know, and we'll try to accommodate that to the best of our ability. And as long as we get that form, we're trying to basically get the students enrolled and ready to go and in the correct membership groups within about 24 to 48 hours as we kind of go along here. Now, the group leader navigation, once you actually sign up or sign in, what you're going to do is you'll click the sign in button next to that blue one, and that will actually take you to the group leaders page. And what you'll see once you're actually in the website behind the scenes is you'll see your groups that are associated with your account. So in this case, you can click on the My Groups, and depending on how many affiliations you have, what will end up happening is you can then see your students and basically follow along as the students progress through the course. Now, the way that the navigation works inside of here as we continue here is the 3 points that I want to kind of show you is when you look at your groups, if you're inside, let's say the General Youth Education Aviation program as shown here, and you are a group leader, you'll notice that you'll have your group hierarchy, which is basically this line right here. This happens to be the Education Aviation program, which is the biggest branch, and then this is the division of it, and then so forth. So if you could have multiple subgroups or levels at that point. This one right here is probably the most important button for our group leaders or our parents out there, and this is the group leader report page. Now, we'll go through this in the next slide, but as stated, you're only going to be able to see anybody that's in your group and nobody else, okay? And then finally, the third one there, going across that red line, that is going to be your group menu. So that's where you're going to be able to manage your members. You can also send messages. This is also where you can have your forums and private discussions. And you can also set up different moderators and those types of things as you go along. And in this case, this happens to be on the members page. And the members page, you'll be able to upload photos if you so choose, and basically have your students that you manage as well going through it, okay? Now, Patrick is asking, is it possible for a parent to go through the ground school with their children, or will you be offering? So the parents can absolutely go through the ground school with their children, and it is encouraged. That's the reason why we do have those adult memberships as well. And as long as your child is enrolled in the program, then your membership is good as well as we kind of go through it. Now, that report page that we see in number 2, that group leader report page, this is what you would basically expect to see. And at the very, very top, this will give you your member progress. So it'll tell you how many students you have, what courses they're currently taking, any assignments that were due to them as well. And like I said, in this section right here, this is where you can kind of filter through your own students. You're not going to be able to see much more than your own students in that program. And when you actually do the search, it will tell you who the student was, what time they took a potential lesson or exam, what was the results, how many steps remain, and those types of things. And you can even download the quiz materials. Now, if you dig into this a little bit further, and potentially we wanted to look at all of our students and kind of see how everybody's progressing, what will end up happening is we will go to a subpage. So this subpage will then show us all of our different students. So here we've got Bonnie, Carol, Christian, Danny, and Jeffrey. And it basically tells us what is their progress and how are they basically going from point A to point B through this course. Are they keeping up? You know, maybe they're getting stuck, right? So these are all things that we want to address early on, right? We don't want to discourage people because, you know, the material is challenging. But at the end of the day, the whole goal is to get people excited about aviation and the community that we kind of can derive or build off of this, okay? So the first thing at the very top is we obviously have our course progress. So this is going to be our course progress section. We also have a visual breakdown, which is this section right here. And we can see where people are, and then we can also see the exact student activity as well, which I will show you, which you actually already saw. The exact student activity was in that last page that we saw earlier. Now, if you need to navigate around the page or back to the groups page, there's actually two locations that you can do it. The primary location is where your name is at the very top. There's going to be a drop-down menu that I'll show you here in just a moment. And what you would do is you're going to go down to courses, and that will take you back to your courses page. The second way you can do it is we call this a fly-out menu. So this menu will actually expand, or you could just click on the group button as shown there, and that will take you to the groups page as well. What I would encourage you to do, though, is after you sign up and we get you associated with the correct group, go ahead and just kind of click around, make sure you're comfortable with the system. And like I said, we're here to answer any of the IT questions if we do get stuck. And like I said, it's fairly it is intuitive, so it should be fairly easy. But if we do have any issues, feel free to shoot us an email or reach out to us over the phone, and we're happy to walk you through it. Now, in addition to this, once we're associated with a group, this is what the group forums and discussion looks like. So this is the one that we put together for the Civil Air Patrol. And as you can see here, if you're on your Civil Air Patrol or your group section, you then can click on the discussions portion, and the discussions will then allow you to basically have ongoing discussions. You can do this per class. You can just have a master discussion. And then remember that as a parent or group leader, you can assign a moderator to basically moderate comments and ensure students are basically kept in, or basically keeping a safe environment, and they're not going too far off topic, okay? So you'll have the ability to actually edit anything that they write. You'll also be able to delete anything that they write if it's something off color, and then also organize and control all of the content moving forward. Now, in the event you want to reach out to your students, and let's say you don't want to use email, you can actually do it in this system as well by going to the send messages. And you can send messages directly to a specific member in your group, or you can select all as shown here, and you can actually send a message to everybody. You can even upload a photo or upload a file, put in a little smiley face if you want to. It's just like a Facebook message or anything else, except it's delivered directly to your population group that you're basically mentoring or working with. So that's kind of the goal that we have. If you also choose to do so, you can also create a photo album. If you guys maybe want to do, I've seen other students do this, where they create little private groups, and what they end up doing is they say, you know, aviation photo of the week or something along those lines. And you can basically also create documents and upload documents for the benefit of that specific group. So if you found something very helpful, you can do so as well. Okay, so that's how that is designed behind the scenes. The other one that I wanted to talk about was the profile button. So on the home page, you'll notice that your name will be at the top, and you'll be able to click on your name, and then this is going to actually expand. The primary menu will expand. If you want to view your profile or edit your profile, you'll go down to profile, and then we'll have the menu that will swing out, which will be to view it. And then you can actually edit it should you want to change your photo, maybe your nickname or something like that. We also have the ability to put in your local airport code if you want to keep track of that. But this is where we can basically do such a thing. If anybody is here that is going to be doing the $12 per month for 12 months, we also have the account option as well. So if you go to your account, this is where we have all of our privacy and different things here. So The main one that I wanted to point out, though, is the payment method. So should you want to change your payment method if a couple months go by and maybe your credit card gets hacked and it needs to be updated, you can do so there without directly reaching out to us, although we always happy to take calls and those types of things. Now, the last thing that I'll talk about is navigating to the courses here and the course progress. So with this, I wanted to talk about the courses menu. So underneath your name, you'll see that little drop-down menu. And if you go to the courses, you'll have 3 different options. Your course progress, this is going to be for students and also leaders. So course progress will basically demonstrate or show what your current progress is in a course and basically take you to wherever you left off. Once a student has completed the course, they'll be able to download a student transcript and then any type of actual certificate or endorsements for the purposes of taking the exam, they will be able to download those in the certificate section. Now, we are working to basically also provide access to the student transcript and the certificates for the group leader. It's not currently activated, but by the end of the course, we will have access for those group leaders to basically review the student transcripts and also manage those endorsements as we go along. Continuing on, if you're on your group page, you can click on the courses menu as well. And then from this point, you'll be able to enter the courses. In addition, this is going to be our primary course. It's called the Private Pilot Ground School. It's the EAP course, which is our educational program. And this is where you're going to be able to find the live interaction, just like we do right now. And in addition to that, like we said, they will have access to all of our other programs that are out there, including the Part 107 commercial course. We have our commercial ground school, which has been completed. We have our instrument ground school and the other ones, and also our ForeFlight course as well. So with the access of all these other programs, we do constantly update all of our courses. We're usually in the studio every Tuesday and Thursday, refilming stuff, updating stuff, putting in better content, 3D graphics, and those types of things, whatever we can do to effectively get across the message of whatever we're trying to teach. And that's kind of the whole goal moving forward. So that is what it looks like on the back end. The other thing I did want to mention just briefly before we kind of wrap everything up here and see what questions you may or may not have is going to be the first date of class that we were looking at was actually next Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time or 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we're looking at it every single week, every Saturday. Of course, we're excluding any holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, those types of things. And we'll be sending out the actual syllabus as a follow-up email at the very, very end of class here, okay? So other than that, there are a couple materials that we do recommend, and we'll also send out this information, although they are not required. So we actually use Rod Machado's Private Pilot Handbook. It is not a requirement to have it, but at the same time, it is helpful as a good reference material. We do supplement all of our readings and those types of things with the FAA material, so those are at your disposal. Prior to every single class, we will have the recommended homework so students can keep up the reading. We're trying to keep it within 3 or 4 pages, just something that's digestible, that's not too complicated, so that way they can keep up, and we want to keep them encouraged throughout this entire process. In addition to that, the only other 2 things that we would like would be what is known as an E6B. And inside the course material, we will have links where you could buy these as parents. These run, the cheapest ones are about $9 or $10, and this is basically what we call a flight computer. The cheapest ones are obviously made out of paper. This is mine from 2001, so still in good shape. But they do come in metal. They also come in a hard plastic version, so the price can kind of go up from that point. The other one that I would also like for students to have is what is known as a aviation plotter, and it just looks like a giant ruler, except it has this thing. Now, this is called a movable plotter, and these are maybe $14 at the end of the day. There's also the ones that are fixed plotters, so it doesn't actually move. It just has the 180-degree dome at the top. And what we're requesting is this is going to be kind of towards summer of next year that we have these. We're going to be doing flight planning, and these are very, very helpful. We actually need these in order to do our flight plans and put those together. There's no rush on that. As stated, we'll give you the information if you're interested in Rod Machado's book. The reason why I like his book personally, and I've taught out of it for a number of years, is the fact that all textbooks at the end of the day, all aviation textbooks are equal. They're going to provide you the same federal aviation regulations, aerodynamics, everything's the same. It is the way that the author basically portrays or explains that information that's different. And he does a very, very good job of breaking down very complex material and really making it digestible at the end of the day. So once again, that is just a recommendation, but at the same time, I encourage you, if you can, to get a copy at some point. It could be a used copy. Does not have to be the brand new one. It doesn't matter if it's the second edition or the latest one, which is his third edition as well. Okay. So I'm going to be here for any questions. I also have our team on. So if there's something that I potentially can't answer, such as a technology question, we will stick around and answer anything that you may have at this point. And let me go ahead. I saw Dawn. Do you have to be 16 to take the written test? That is correct. But you can start studying for the written test prior to that. But when you walk in the official FAA testing center, you do need to present a government issued ID, and it needs to be at least 16 years of age. Okay. Yep. The name of the author is Rod Machado. I think Rebecca threw that in there. And we will also send out an email. So don't worry if you missed that. We will throw that in the reminder email for everybody out there. And like I said, we can also provide a link in case anybody needs it as well. Okay. Mike had a question about the pricing. After the full $144 is paid, the student has access until they're 21 years old. That is correct, Mike. So if you have a student that's 10 years old, they're going to have access to it for a total of 11 years. If you have a student who's 20, they'll only have access to it for a full year. Okay. Which FBO did I fly out of Fullerton? That I do not remember. That was such a long time ago. That was probably like 95, 96. That feels like a lifetime ago. So I remember we used to fly up to Big Bear and those types of things. So that's kind of our jumping off point. It was a family friend who had a Piper. I believe it was a Piper Arrow at the time. It's been a little while since I remember that. But I did most of my flight training, at least finishing up everything at Camarillo here, which is about an hour north of LA. And that's actually where our offices are located. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer the local ones as well. Brian said, if I'm already signed up for the private pilot course, does this attach to my account? I believe it does, but you do need to fill out the document. Let me double check that with Rebecca and Travis here, Brian, and I'll get back to you on that. Angela's saying, is ground school required to do the test? Nope, actually no. If you can self-study and basically do the ground school on your own, meaning just kind of either take some type of course, you need to have a written endorsement from a certified flight instructor saying that you've done a home study course, or that the certified flight instructor is actually signed off, making sure that you have the knowledge base in order to sit for the exam. Some people self-study, some people do online courses, some people do a variety of different things or work directly one-on-one with an instructor. The benefit of our program, like I said, is that we're live. We're here to answer questions, and like I said, it's we're trying to make it interactive in a way where we can work with those students one-on-one, and we can basically adjust the pace of the class just like I would if I was teaching a live class with people in front of me, where if I start to see that the class is struggling a little bit, then we can address that, teach it a different way. The way that I always teach my flight instructors is that a good instructor, we don't just teach a single way. We have to be able to explain that topic about 10 different ways, because the first 9 times the student may not get it, but that 10th time that we do it in a different manner, maybe a different type of teaching, maybe they're more visual, maybe it's more audible, then what will end up happening is they'll have that light bulb moment. Okay. So age-wise, like I said, it is open really for middle school all the way through high school to 21 years of age, and then we kind of cut that off. We're trying to keep that population group the same, and we get a wide variety of students. So like I said, I've had an 11-year-old student. He posted a really cool picture of himself flying his flight sim. He passed the class, our 4-week class, which is pretty much like a rapid-fire pace. And he did just great with it. So this is going to extend it out, give people more time to digest the material, follow the school year. It's going to give them that aerostem background, kind of help them also with their classes. And it's a really cool extracurricular activity. There's you could actually get your pilot's license before some people end up driving, and that's the case in some circumstances. Okay. Let's see, Dawn. So this course is primarily to assist passing the written course. So It is there to assist you in passing the written course, but it's going to give you a lot more above and beyond what's required. So we're also getting people ready to actually do the practical stuff of getting into the cockpit and knowing what those flight instruments look like and understanding weather and a bunch of other things. But in addition to that, once you're actually inside and doing the flight lessons, at the very end, you need to do an oral exam and you need to do a practical exam. And this knowledge base is really kind of the foundation of everything that they need to know, besides the practical stick and rudder skills. Okay. Adrian was asking, can you give me an estimated amount of study time needed outside of the 1 hour class? So what we recommend, just like any other class, is most college classes, they say for every hour in the classroom, you need 2 hours out. For this course, I would probably say an hour in is an hour out. So you need roughly about an hour per week. They can break that up into, and it's just going to be minor little bits of reading here and there. And then it's just a quiz after every single class. And that's it for that. So we try to keep it as feasible as possible. Okay. Angela was saying, should we wait until they're closer to 16? So if you have a student that is highly interested in aviation or not sure, it's a great opportunity just to see if they enjoy it, right? And you don't need to be 16 to start flying. I think the youngest student I've flown with was 9. He needed a booster seat. And his father was driving him to be the next Lindbergh, per se, flying across the Atlantic when he turned 16 or 17. But you can actually start flying, counting your hours prior to getting to that 17 mark. And a lot of students find it, fun and exciting. And whether a student wants to be a pilot or not, what we found was even students who are, just like airplanes in general, even adults, right? We have adults in our classes that have no desire of actually becoming a pilot. But when they sit and they're flying all across the country for all their business meetings, and they look out the window, now they know what all those signs mean that they're looking at on those taxiways and runways, okay? So it is not designed specifically for pilots. It is, but we're trying to basically create an environment where they can just consider a career in aviation. And that's the reason why we're going to have those monthly folks who do come in and do actually talk about the other career opportunities that are out there. We want to get people excited and, enjoying, because this is kind of a close, small knit community, if you will. Okay. Dawn, let's see. Another question from Dawn here. So is it okay if you can't do them all live? So if you can't make them all live, completely understand. We all have different schedules and those types of things. As I mentioned at the beginning, we do record every single lesson and we post it right afterwards. So usually a lesson will conclude about 7, 8 o'clock at night, depending on which time zone you're currently in. For me, it usually ends about 5 or 5:30 at Pacific time. And then what we do is it takes us about an hour to upload it. And then you can spend the rest of the week, the next 7 days, watching it at your leisure, should you not be able to make that time commitment. Because, over a 33-week period, I expect things to come up, right? We all take vacations, things happen, family dinners, whatever it is, that's completely understandable. So we've tried to make this as accessible as possible as we go along, all right? Is there any other questions out there that I can answer or my team can answer for you? I know Rebecca's firing off in the chat. Also, remember, if you do have any questions that we weren't able to answer, you can email us at education@checkride-prep.com. You can also check us out on the website, checkride-prep.com. You can, if you want to find out more about us, you can check us out on Facebook or check us out on Google. I think there's 100 plus reviews out there for us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. If there's no other questions, I don't want to take up too much of your Saturdays. I really appreciate everybody's time here. Got one more question here from Ola. So how many hours of class per week? 1 hour of class per week. So it's about an hour and a half. So it's 1 hour of class, 30-minute Q&A. So all I'm asking for is every Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific or 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're looking at roughly about an hour and a half. If you can't make that specific lesson, we record it. Matthew's saying, once my sons and I finish the private pilot ground school, can we go on to you can absolutely do the SUAS course. So if you're signed up for these courses, Matthew, that is, you have access to all of our programs until your kids turn 21, or at least your last child turns 21 in that group. Okay. Howard's asking, does a student have to be a parent or leader, be a group member? The parents don't actually have to sign up unless they want to monitor their students. So if you are going to monitor your students, then you do need an account associated with it. Hopefully that answers that question. Thank you so much, Michelle. Is it the same price if I myself have lifetime access? So it is a separate program, so it's a little bit different. And let's see, Rebecca answered that. So you just need to sign up your student in that case, okay? And we have one class every Saturday. It's at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and then just associate that with your local time. Caroline's asking, what do you have to do beyond the class and test to fly a plane? So once you're done with the class, or you can do it while concurrently in the class, the minimum amount of hours that you need to be inside of an actual aircraft is 40 hours, okay? So 40 hours of flight time. What you would do is you would then work with your local flight school, and if you need a recommendation, we know plenty of flight instructors and different schools around the country. We can always provide a reference to one, or if it's in an area that we don't necessarily have an affiliation, we can help you kind of choose the best option for you in that local area. At that point, you would then do 40 hours of flight, and that is the minimum. Keep that in mind. That's the legal minimum. The national average is roughly about 65 hours of flight time in order to get a license. During that flight, during those 40 hours, there are certain requirements that we have to do as instructors. So that does include certain things such as working with students for nighttime flights, and we also do specific cross-country flights of 50 miles away or more. And then eventually they're going to solo as well, which means they're going to go out and take that airplane by themselves after we feel confident, safe, and they're proficient to do so in order to work towards those requirements of actually getting the license. Okay. This is being recorded, so you're absolutely more than welcome to watch it at the very end. Caroline, hopefully that answers the basics of the question. Cost of flight hour for flight times for wet costs, and wet costs for people who don't know includes fuel. Depends on where you're currently located in the country. I've heard it as cheap as $85 an hour, and then depending on if you're on the West Coast or the East Coast, which is usually the most expensive, that can be for the smaller two-seaters is about $100 an hour, and then for the four-seat aircraft, which are a little bit more powerful, they're usually about $130 an hour is what it averages out to be. Now, you don't need to do all your flight training in a weekend. Most people take 6 to 8 months to finish their flight training on average. You could do it as quickly as about 3.5, 4 weeks is the fastest I've ever signed off on a student, but that's the reason why most people will spread it out. Right now, we're just trying to get people interested and excited about aviation, so keep that in mind. This is going to prepare them to go to that next step if they so choose so, okay? All right, any more questions here? I was just taking a look. I think we've got most of them answered. You also have the email address, education@checkride-prep.com. Perfect, we are back, Chad, welcome. Great talking to your son today, Chad, as well, so thank you so much for that opportunity. Anything else, folks, before we head out this weekend? Like I said, don't want to take up too much of your time on this Saturday. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody out there for providing me an hour of your time this Saturday. I hope you guys stay safe out there. Have a fantastic weekend. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email or give us a call, and we're happy to answer it. And if you sign up, try to use your student's email for the student, and then if you're going to sign up, use your own email as well. And if you missed any of this, we did record it. We will provide a copy, and we'll have it out there on the Facebook group and also YouTube a little bit later. But thank you again, everybody, and I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. All right? Take care, everyone.